Hello you guys, this is Fun Automotive, and in this video we're going to be talking about the whole entire lift. Everything that I've done, all the way down to the spacers for the control arms, spacers for the subframe drop, and spacers for the crossmember drop. Also, because I do not have adjustable rear lower control arms. So we're just going to try to top every single subject on this thing and every single component that I've used, and I'll share it and put all the links below in the video so that you guys can follow along and do this same exact lift as well, or any other way you guys want to build it, and do it your own way. So let's get to that right now. Alright, now I think we're going to start with the front springs. Alright, for these front springs, these are OME springs. I'm not exactly sure of the exact model number of them, the item number, part number, but I will research and I will figure that out so that you guys won't have to worry about it. And these shocks right here, these shocks are Bilstein B8 5100 shocks. They're adjustable up to 2.5 inches of lift. They adjust, I don't know if you could see, but up here, you see those lines inside of there. You got the lines right here. Those make it to where this spacer sits there, there, or there. And I have it all the way topped off at 2.5 inches, as high as it can go. So that's what the good B8 5100 Bilstein shock is good for that adjustment that you need, for the height that you will need also. Now, let's go to the upper control arm. The upper control arm, as all you guys know, is the Jeep Liberty JBA upper control arm. This is the slightly newer model. It's got the grease inserts right here on both sides. And this is the this is the spacer that I use. It's K6292. That's what the spacer number is. I will have a link. You guys don't have to worry about that. I'll have the link in the description below for the spacer, for the upper control arms, for the spring, and for the shock also. And if you guys do the spacer insert for the upper control arm, I just extended the bolts and made it to where it fits perfectly. No extra space, ready to go, no washers needed. And that is the shock and control arm setup with the spacers also. So on the top here, can't really see in there, I'm running a 1-inch spacer, just about a 1-inch spacer. It's something that I did, I can't really get in there, but I'm running the 1-inch spacer up in there, and that makes it to where the whole body sits on, obviously on the spring tower, and then sits on top of that spacer, which makes it go up that 1 extra inch, which will bring down your upper control arm. It will shoot it straight down, further down, which will hit and contact your spring. You won't even be able to put your hand behind here because it'll be smashed up against the spring. So that's when this guy comes into use. This 1-inch spacer is very good for that. You can even run a bigger spacer. It will straighten out the control arm completely, which that's probably what I should have done, is run a bigger spacer going up 5 inches. So I will put the link in there for this spacer, and on that website on eBay, you will see that they do make a 2-inch spacer for the K9262 ball joint. So you'll see that they have a 2-inch spacer also. I'm not sure, I have not ran the 2-inch spacer before. I don't know how it's going to be, but I'm sure it'll just be that much better because it'll bring this upper control arm up a bit higher. So whenever you even hit curbs, like down over there, you see the curbs. When you hit those going a little speedy, you can get some clunking because it's still close to the spacer. The spring. But using the 1-inch as I am now, it's pretty dang good. But remember, if you hit bumps a little hard, you will get clunking from that spring. So maybe you should upgrade to the 1-inch or the 2-inch spacer instead of me using the 1-inch. So maybe the 2-inch might actually benefit you and make it that much better. All right, now I think we should move in toward the front subframe drop. Alright, on this front subframe drop, as you can see here, we got a bolt here. This is the whole subframe. It goes all the way back there. And then right on the other side of this thing, on that one, you will have another one of these bolts. And all I did was take a 1-inch spacer, just a regular little 1-inch spacer, about 1/2 inch wide or maybe 1 inch wide. And you can get these at Lowe's. I can't put the links in because, you know, I don't think I'm going to be able to find them. But just go to Lowe's and then look for your spacers. They're steel spacers. You'll see. I can't exactly remember what these spacers were called exactly, but all I know is that they're half inch to 1 inch wide spacers, and they're 1 inch tall. So you're just going to want to put one of those spacers up in there. Sorry about the fingernails. I'm working on the WJ right now. Got it up off the ground, changing out the upper control arm bushings. So my hand was just covered in oil and dirt and grime, but that's what you're going to have to do. 1 inch here, 1 inch in the rear, back there, and then same thing. Another 1 inch right there, and then another 1 inch. There's only 4 of them. 2 in the front, 1, 2, and then 2 in the back. There will be 2, 1 right there, and then there will be another one just on the other side over there. Now let me go into the rear part of it to show you guys in full detail. Now we're just up there in the front, just behind those two little those two little wall things right there, those flaps. Here's the behind part by the caster bolts. Now you could see the spacer a bit better right here. They got my steel spacer just sitting right up in there right now. Sorry, it's got a little bit of rust on it, but that's the steel spacer. I did not need to extend the bolts. These are the stock bolts. You can run 1 inch spacers on stock subframe bolts. You don't need to extend your bolts. But if you do want to go more of a drop, you do have to extend your bolts. And just remember that, you guys. You will have to extend your subframe bolts if you're running a 2-inch spacer on your subframe, or anything over 1 inch. Anything over, even 1/4 of an inch over, 1/8 of an inch over, you will have to extend your bolts. These were only maxed for 1 inch. I was able to grab like 10 threads in and then impact. So actually I didn't even impact, I just used a ratchet and got a nice good purchase on there and used the breaker bar and tighten those suckers up nice and tight. So you're gonna have another one right there also, right there. That's the other bolt right there. And yeah, that's it. So you guys know, stock subframe bolts, you can use those with 1 inch spacers. Just throw that spacer in there, throw your stock 1 inch bolt in, tighten her up. You're gonna need 4 of them. 1 in the back, 1 in the front, 1 in the front, and then 1 in the back. Right over there. Right there. You got those bolts. So that's pretty much everything. Once you get that 1 inch spacer in there, tighten her up and you're good to go. And like I said before, that's going to bring everything down. So your control arm is going to need that spacer because it's going to bring that control arm down. No binding whatsoever. Good on the binding still, like I said. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You got the K6292 ball joint spacer, the JBA upper control arm, the OME spring, which I will have the link for that also, obviously, and the B8 5100 shock. And I think that's just about it for the front end. We got the 1 inch spacers also, and yeah, stock axles. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys saw the sway bar end link. Those have red bushings in them. Don't pay no mind. They're just stocks. Nothing special about those. Now let's get to the rear and yeah, explain more about it. So let's get to it. All right, now let's get to the rear. And let me let you guys know what I have done. Still haven't got the plate on yet. Don't worry, I'll get that on. Don't mind the red paint up there. That I think was from the last owner. I have yet to take that off and get it all cleaned up. No big deal. Alright. These springs are stock JKU springs. They should be the same springs for the JK and JKU. So what you're going to want to do is cut right where it springs all the way up to a point. You're going to want to cut off that point 2.5 to 3 inches to fit on the body without being all wonky. It'll fit right up on that body nice and level. It should. If it don't worry. As long as you cut a good amount off, you shouldn't be alarmed. Everything should go right up there nice and clean with no worries. Now I've got, my trick is I added a 2-inch spacer, isolator on top, and then 2 more stock isolators. These are all stock isolator. That one on top and then these 2 on the bottom. That's a 2-inch spacer. I added 2 stock isolators on the bottom to lift up the 2-inch spacer. Another 2 inches and then 2-inch spacer, and then 1 more stock isolator on the very top, obviously, so this spring's not sitting on bare metal and, you know, having loud contact, if any. So that's what I have done. That's all I have done. I even have the stock upper control arm, A-arm, for there. I even have all that stock. Same thing on this side. 2 isolators, stock, 1 up top, 2-inch spacer, and the JKU rear spring. And oh, I almost forgot. What we have is Pro Comp shocks. Those were also from a JKU. Don't worry, you don't need to get JKU rear shocks. You can use the Liberty shocks. I only used them because my father had them sitting around in his garage and they were only used for like 6 months. So I told him I'm going to take them and throw them on the Liberty. You do not have to get the Pro Comp JKU shocks. You can use regular Jeep Liberty rear shocks. That's okay. They may not be Pro Comp, but that's fine. And that's all he had. Even if he had Rough Country or any other brand, I would have used those. But at that time, he had Pro Comp, so that's what I used. So we got the JKU rear spring, which I use the JKU rear spring. You don't have to use that also. You can use your own lifted spring off of any website you go on. I only chose that again because it was cutting costs and it was a lot cheaper and I didn't have to buy a spring because he had those sitting around also. So that's the only reason why I used them. Stock bump stops in there. As you can tell, they're old, but they still work. So, JKU shocks, JKU springs, all stock isolators on the top, 1 on top, 2 on bottoms, and a 2-inch spacer. So that's 3, 4, that's 5 inches of lift plus the spring. Actually, I take that back. These were a little less than an inch. I don't remember exactly, but I think they were like 3/4 they measured out to. Especially now that they got all this weight on them, they're probably a little less, down to like 5/8 of an inch. So these weren't exactly an inch. So all in total, this is probably like 1.5 inches plus another 1/2 inch or just a little more. So let's just call it 2 inches. This is 4 in total. So 1, 2, 3, or I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this gave me an extra inch, maybe a little bit more, maybe an inch and a quarter, I want to say, inch and 3/8. Maybe more. Maybe it was like an inch and a half that spring gave me more of a lift. If I wasn't even running all of this, it would still lift me up because it gave me exactly around an inch and 3/8 to an inch and a half of lift. Because I'm running the spare. The spare is a lot of weight on the rear. And running a full tank of gas, it would droop down. The whole Jeep would droop down a little bit back. So that's why I obviously added extra isolators to bring the rear end up that much higher because of all the weight. So that's what I'm running in the rear, you guys. JKU springs, which you can use other brand springs. I only use them to cut costs. JKU rear springs, JKU Pro Comp rear shock. Not exactly sure on the extension how much they extend. I wouldn't know that right now. I would have to ask him. 2-inch rear spacer and 3 stock isolators, 1 on the top, 2 on the bottom, just to give it up another 1.5 to 2 inches. Same on this side. And yeah, so that's it, you guys. I hope you guys get all that good information out of it. Probably just gonna send that off or something. I hope you guys can get all that information off of it. And that's pretty much all I did. Oh, I almost forgot. Transfer case, spacers. Almost forgot those spacers right there. Right. See if you can see my finger in it. No, it's gonna ruin it. Yep, right there, as you can see. I'm not running spacers on the left side, I'm running them on the right side. So let me crawl over there and get closer footage for you guys. See, look at the pinion angle. It's not too bad. It really isn't too bad. All right, these are the spacers right here. Now, what I'm running right here is 1-inch spacers on 4 washers. So I would say that's about a... actually, that's 1 inch in total. Yeah, I forgot. I cut the spacers in half because 1-inch spacers were a little bit too big. So yeah, it's not 1 inch in total. The spacers are about 5/8 of an inch, I would say, inside of here. 5/8 of an inch. I brought this thing down about an inch. I would say it actually ends up to being about an inch. This actually ends up to being just about an inch. So about 7/8 of an inch to an inch. That's what I'm running up right here right now. And yeah, that's just the same thing. That's just steel spacers, and then 4 washers on the bottom of that. If you could see that there, that's all that is 4 spacers, or 4 washers and 1 1/2-inch spacer. That's all I ran on this cross member, and I'm only running 2 up here. These 2 on this side are empty. It's just the bolts holding the cross member in. And then on this side, it's the bolts with the washers and the spacers, bringing the whole cross member down just about an inch. I would say like 7/8 of an inch to an inch. It's not exact, but I did the best I could at that time. So that's exactly how it is right there. It's not too bad. So 1 inch made the Jeep Liberty level out a good amount from driving. It's been a long time since I've driven it. I think when I sold it, it had a very, very slight vibration still. I think it still had a very, very light vibration. I'm not exactly sure, but it's been so long. But from what I remember, it had a very, very slight vibration at like, I think 65 or 55 or something, and then it'll go away. That just only means that I got to get this axle more straightened out, and yeah, it would have been a lot more smoother if I did that. But it, like I said, it only did it for a few seconds, just literally a second back then, if I remember correctly. So that's what it is, all you guys, on the spacers and the subframe drop spacers and all the front lift and rear lift. I hope you guys actually got all that, and and we'll be able to do what I do, or take all that and make your own lift out of what you think is best. I hope you guys really do get as far as I did, or even further. I hope you guys get further and even better, because this was all new territory to me. All of this was all new territory to me. I never had to mess with the independent control arms or any of that in the axles, and I actually, with all the droop and all, there's so much you got to look out for with the control arm and the independence and all that stuff. Now, the rear axle was a lot easier, obviously, being a solid axle, running those spacers, and still running the stock control arms also. All stock upper and stock lower control arms. So I really hope you guys like this video on the Jeep Liberty. it's all the lift and all the information that I can give you guys about it. So like I said, I want you guys to take that information, those lifts, and make your own lift out of it, or copy mine. I don't care. Just I want you guys to succeed in lifting these things, because people think you cannot go as high as you want to go. And I've seen a lot of people online go big. So that's what made me want to go big, and then tons of other people wanted to know. So that's why I'm making this video right here. So this is Fun Automotive. I hope you guys really like this video, and thank you guys. Thank you, the subscribers. I appreciate that a lot. You don't know how much that means to me for you guys to watch my content. It's cool. Somebody actually likes my lift and wants to do one of their own. So yeah, that's pretty dang cool. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please, I don't like to say it, but like the video. That would be nice if you guys gave the video a like. And if you're not subscribed, please, that would be cool if you guys subscribed also to help me out. So this, as you know, is Fun Automotive and the Lifted KJ. And as you know, I will catch you guys on the next one. Goodbye.